Eternity's End. Oh, it's 11 minutes. Oh, that's a big announcement. They're not just gonna announce one thing. Okay. Got like 3 minutes left. Okay, here we go.
The jailer's true goal has never really been to escape the Maw or to gain power. He's been focused on reaching this place called the Sepulcher, to go into this place of power and to really rewrite the rules of the universe. We'll learn that the jailer has breached the Sepulcher of the First Ones, and this becomes our new raid for Eternity's End.
Okay.
We're going to gather our forces. We're going to pursue the jailer inside.
Oh,
Once you go inside the Sepulcher, there's some mind-blowing visuals. This is a place that should not be able to exist according to the laws of physics as we know them on Azeroth. Just looking out into this impossible sky of seeing these ancient works of the First Ones, those laws don't apply to anything we see here.
Among the bosses that we're going to face in Sepulcher of the First Ones include the Jailer's forces, maybe a Dreadlord or two that you haven't tied up loose ends with. We'll face a consular. This is similar to a being like Algalon, but the Jailer's gotten to it and has infused his domination magic into the consular. Before we get to the Jailer, however, we need to get to Anduin first. Our hope is that we can learn whatever Anduin knows about domination magic. We need to be able to resist it, or better yet, fight it.
We know players have been waiting a long time for the return of tier sets, and as devs, we have too.
It's a great blend of progenitor magic, golds, and metals, along with those class-defining silhouettes. Wolves for shamans, pointy things for rogues. It's gonna look amazing.
Pog. Okay, so the new we'll watch this back and look at it, but the new zone, again, this isn't my thing, but a lot of people care about this. New zone looked really cool. Like the whole aesthetic of the new zone, a lot of water. You walk on it for some reason, right? Harness the power of the First Ones by collecting distinctive class armor sets via raids, PvP, or Mythic Plus dungeons. So you'll be able to obtain the tier through all 3 modes, apparently. That's the first time that's ever been the case. You usually only could have gotten them in raid, so a lot of the PvP and Mythic Plus people did not like that. Each set comes with a powerful 2 and 4-piece set bonus that complement your unique abilities. Yeah, makes sense. Okay, when I see this, I want to, like, laugh. But actually, one of my biggest criticisms about WoW is the fact that they don't make enough content for casuals to do purely for the sake of fun and not being tied to some system. And that's exactly what this is. So I can't say I want that and then like be all weird when they put it in the game. Deep in the Sepulcher of the First Ones lies the key to unlock the Jailer's plans. Gather the power of the First Ones as you pursue Zoval. Yo, I'm not supposed to know who that is, right? Oh, that's the Jailer. I only know the Jailer is the Jailer, bro. I don't... Okay, no. Okay, this is what you guys are doing. I love it. I love when chat does this. Half of you guys also only knew him as the Jailer, but now you're all just going like, oh, Max, you didn't know that. What? I did. No fucking shot, bro. But first, you must face Anduin and discover a way to resist the Jailer's terrifying domination magic. So are we thinking young Zoval is the end boss? And Anduin is like second to last. You guys think Anduin's the penultimate boss? Someone said that Anduin might be the first boss, and then Anduin takes you through the raid. Okay, that kind of makes sense, but wouldn't it be like super lame to just have Anduin, crazy shadow bitch Anduin, be like a first thing? It does say first. Oh, but first you must face Anduin. Well, I could see it still being second to last, even if it says this. All good. Just I don't know what this means. This is probably just some end of the paragraph sounding epic, but like please nothing like domination shards ever again. But class sets will probably replace that. That's actually really interesting that it's coming from all 3, to be honest with you. I actually now that I think about it, I think it makes sense that they do that, because like tier for the longest time only came from raids because it was just like in the system, you know? That's just like what the game was. But like now that they're reintroducing tier, they gave it time to be away. They're obviously going to reintroduce it in the way that it most makes sense to obtain it in current WoW. And if they released tier sets again that could have only been gotten from the raid, I feel like that would have been a little outdated. So I guess that sounds right. I am interested in what they do with tier set content though. And the reason why is if you look back historically on tier sets are looked back on positively, even though they're borrowed power. Tier sets are one of the earliest forms of borrowed power. Borrowed power isn't bad. Bad borrowed power is bad. And borrowed power being too much of your overall player's power is bad. But over time, tier sets were a little hit or miss, to be honest with you, near the end. Some tier sets were like actually insanely creative. They not only boosted your damage and your healing, but it actually made your class different to play. That was why tier sets were so fascinating, because it shook the meta up every raid because there was just a little bit of variability, and it made your classes, in the best case scenarios, different to play. But sometimes it was just like this ability does more damage. But that's because they had to keep releasing them every tier. Someone at Blizzard who's been like made tier sets or like just does class design has probably had some ideas for a while, and they're going to all get to use them at one time. So my expectation is that all the tier sets will be pretty sick, like the bonuses. And I know that that may sound optimistic, and if they're not sick, I'm gonna throw a fit. So just so you all know, if they're bad, I'm gonna yell and scream. So. Okay, so let's do some Anduin theory crafting here.
Are into the consular. Before we get,
so we're with Jaina, this dude, old beard man, and a bunch of people. Uther, yeah, I knew that. And then Sylvanas. Wait, where's Sylvanas? Is that her? Oh. Okay, that's why I didn't recognize her. Does she have like a hangover?
we need to get
Yo, Sylvanas is having a rough go at it.
to Anduin first.
So this is probably the cutscene right before you fight Anduin. Does this boss room look more like a first boss room or a second to last boss room? It definitely doesn't look big
We
enough,
can
right?
learn
To
whatever.
It could be both. It could definitely be both. All right. GamerBraves.com. All right. So is there anything interesting in this? Can you talk more about the design decisions and inspirations behind Automna and the content in general? I just want to see if they say any interesting thing about like general game philosophy that isn't like this. Okay. One of our major focuses is this major philosophical shift that the team is undertaking for not just returning players. These new systems introduced in Shadowlands, like Covenant's Sanctum and the breadth of the content that we've added. It's also for when you want to make a new character as a new main or for a new role. Okay, so one of their major philosophical shifts that they've had in between 9.1 and 9.2 is to not only consider what it's like for the new player, but what it's like for you as a player playing on a new alt. But also that wasn't very clear, but let's read on. We've been trying to take steps to remove barriers, anything that prevented you from getting to new content and experiencing the raids. Very fucking good. That is actually, in my opinion, one of the biggest problems in WoW in general, is how much of a barrier there is for you as a new player or on a new alt trying to do any content. It's compared to every other MMO, it's actually so much shit. The changes to the renown system and anima lets you catch up more quickly. I don't think there's any new systematic things that we're adding to Eternity's End, but we always look at the main story quest and flow and continuously consider things. People always ask, how much of our questing do I have to do to get into the new stuff? We do want to make it easy for returning players to jump into the story. With Chains of Domination, we made it so you didn't have to play through the whole Covenant campaign before you went to Korthia. Similarly, we'll let you jump into the action of Eternity's End to get to Zareth Mortis. There will be opportunities for you to get gear to get you to the baseline. Okay, catch-up mechanic, it's fine, normal. Needs to exist. Are the class tier sets available through the raids? Are they similar to tier sets from the past? Will there be any new functionality? Tier sets have been something we wanted to revisit since like 2 BlizzCons ago, and the community has also been asking for it. Oh yeah. Artistically, we've taken a lot of the awesome aesthetics from the zone, combine it with class fantasy. Just having that armor is evocative of your class, and we're excited to get them back into your hands. Tier sets will be available through the raids, dropping like normal armor, but we did want to make sure it will be available to players who aren't raiders. Very good. I don't think they've never done this before with tier, but definitely a good change. Like if you're Mythic Plus players and PvPers will tell you immediately that that's something that has sucked in the past. If you're into PvP or Mythic Plus, you can get them from the Great Vault, but not from the chest at the end of the dungeon. That makes sense. Okay, you guys are going to be like, what? It's just the Great Vault? That actually does matter. There's no scenario in which tier gear could drop at the end of a fucking Mythic Plus dungeon. There's just no way. However, we've made some major changes. Sometime after Eternity's End releases, you'll unlock a Forge of Creation system and earn a new currency. This currency, along with an item from PvP or dungeons, can be transformed into a tier set piece. Perfect. Okay, so they're doing best of both worlds. They're going to let you get it from the vault entirely or craft it basically from the vault. This currency, along with an item from PvP or dungeons, can be transformed into a tier set piece. This is supposed to work like bad luck protection, or again, for people wanting to make new characters, or as a catch-up method if you started late. And no one was mad. All of that sounds great. Let's fucking go. All right. We normally might have patched this in much later in the game. Oh, you love to hear this. But we wanted to introduce these systems earlier to give players a clearer roadmap. Oh, we're looking forward to getting feedback from players on the system. Since it's a much different way to get the tier sets this time around, the set bonuses themselves will be similar to the ones in the past, featuring fun and unique benefits for a certain playstyle, with the bonuses swapping if you just... Wait, hold up. The set bonuses themselves will be similar to ones in the past, featuring fun and unique benefits for a certain playstyle, with the bonuses swapping if you decide to change. What does that mean? Specs? Yeah, role specific makes sense. All right, fuck yeah. We tried to explore a little to get rotations to become more fresh and unique. I love these paragraphs. There's a lot to dive into in these two paragraphs. They're saying, hey, in the past, we would have given you this shit much later. But because of a philosophy shift, we want you guys, for your alts and new players, to have this available immediately. We want to remove barriers that exist in the game that prevent you from getting to the content as fast as you can. And the tier sets will be based on specific things. That is like among the best possible things you could read, straight up. Because like a lot of people focus on the exact changes, like the material changes in the game. I think what's much more important is the way they think about those changes. Like, it's not like RNG that they just decided to release those systems super late for the past 4 or 5 years. It's because they actually thought that was the best thing for the game, and now they're, for the first time ever, clearly saying that that was a mistake, and this time they're going to do it differently, which you can just only hope they actually do. But they have literally never said shit like this before, by the way. Like, this is not like, oh, here we go again. They've literally never said that. They've never said, we wanted to do this, we would have done this. Like, they've never said that, so hopium. Oh, another interesting question. Very good. How has the raid design evolved over the years? How did you approach designing it with new player behavior in mind? With the Sepulcher raid, we're doing something unique when it comes to accessing the encounter, viewing it from the story aspect. Anduin will be the end boss. Anduin will be the end boss of the first week of the raid launching, and that comes with a lot of interesting story elements as to why that's the case. Hold up. We get to explore how he gets dominated and how we don't get dominated ourselves, for example. The following week, when Mythic would normally come out, is when the back half of the raid releases, with the Jailer as the final boss to stop him from rewriting reality, as it were. Okay, but when Mythic comes out, is that... I'm assuming that's all in 1 week. So wait, this means we get to do way less splits in Heroic Week, right? Like, actually, though? Like, you guys are saying you're going to do splits in week 2, but that already happens. So how patches used to work for the longest time, it was like, patch, then 2 weeks go by, then Heroic, then Mythic. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? That's exactly how old patches used to work. Since Nyalotha, they've done raid patches a little bit differently, outside of expansion intros. They do patch 1 week, and then Heroic, and then Mythic. So what it's going to look like most likely in this patch is it's going to go back to the other thing, and it's just going to be this. It's going to be patch, 1 week, Heroic, Mythic. New Wowhead article about it. Okay, I'll look at that after I finish reading this. That's very interesting, though. When it comes to evolving philosophies, a lot of it comes down to progression and how player approach itemization in the raid. One of our goals with Sepulcher is to reintroduce tier sets, and the other, to make it more satisfying for players, is by giving them more agency in acquiring their tier sets. In Chains of Domination, many players told us how they still couldn't get the shards or bonuses they want, even after months of raiding. Yeah, it was a fucking horrific system. Yeah. Okay, so they want people to get... Another thing they're saying is a reason they're doing this, they're a philosophy change. They want you to get the patch content like tier sets or whatever the patch thing is. They want you to get it faster, which again, only very good thing. So Sepulcher of the First One raid is time gated. In a translated Korean interview with Steve Denuser and Morgan Day, we've learned that the Sepulcher of the First One's raid will end with the Jailer. However, players will only be able to face 8 bosses, culminating in an encounter with Anduin in the first week, with the remaining 3 locked. The interview also specifies rescuing Anduin, which implies that the Dominated King will no longer die during our battle. The new raid consists of 11 bosses, and Anduin appears to be the 8th named character. During the first open week of the raid, you'll face up to him, sure. While there is a narrative reason given for this departure of the standard way of tackling raids, it's undeniable that this will also slow down progression. Oh, there must be something I don't understand, because this makes no sense. It's undeniable that this will also slow down progression, particularly within the World First races, and it'll be interesting to see how those players adapt to the change. Though there's something I don't know. Since we haven't had wing-locked raid releases since the Ice Crown Citadel. No, there's no heroic race to world first. There's no fucking way they're releasing Mythic like this, right? In Wrath of the Lich King, the implication is that the final 3 bosses will unlock in the second week of the tier, though presumably Anduin will actually need to be defeated in order to face him in a simple time gate. Wait, I need this clarified right now. Like, okay, the reason they're doing it in heroic is to tell a story. The story's already told. You don't need to do that in Mythic. Oh, I know it pushes Mythic back a week. I don't give a fuck about that. So far, what this looks like is 2 weeks of splits. So basically, normally when we do our normal splits with like the 11 bosses, we'll be able to do splits a week before that with 8 bosses. I don't know if I care about that. What are the positives and negatives? The negatives is fuck splits. The positives are it will reduce RNG between like some people having tier sets and not having tier sets. Like guilds who do less splits will have closer to the amount of tier sets than the guilds who run splits will. Like it's like less RNG kind of. It's basically 2 weeks of heroic splits. Actually, there is one benefit to that, is that so many people, what they do for the world first race is they have multiple alts. We call them buckets, right? Where they have like the same class but an alt. And you basically just do your raid clear on heroic. You figure out which character got the best gear. And then you, for the rest of that week, you farm PvP on the and Mythic Plus on the character you've deemed to be your main for that raid. If there's 2 weeks of raid, that actually virtually removes the need for those characters at all. Seriously. Because like, what's the fucking point of doing that when like the character you don't pick in the first week could just get looted in the second week? So that actually, honestly, kind of makes buckets not matter. That part is good. 2 weeks of splits sounds... To be honest with you, I don't mind splits before Mythic comes out. I hate splits that happen during... I hate heroic splits that happen during Mythic. Those suck. Which means, I mean, I guess that's another thing. 2 weeks of heroic splits, basically, also removes the need to do a lot of splits in Mythic, right? Like, when you're doing splits in Heroic Week, after like 3 weeks of heroic splits, you basically have like full heroic gear. So now we're gonna, instead of having 1 going into Mythic, we'll have 2. Wait, did they announce double legendaries? Is the legendaries item system supposed to endure in Eternity's End? This is translated, I believe, but yes, players will have access to new level tiers for legendary items. The materials required to upgrade these items will no longer come from Torghast, but from the zone directly. Fuck yeah. Crazy that it took this long to figure out, but turns out when you make a required resource come from content you want to be fun and challenging, it makes that content dog shit and everyone hate it. So hopefully they can try to redeem whatever's left of Torghast in this patch by making it actually cool and something you want to do and not something you have to do. Because then it could actually be really cool and always could have been really cool. Also may be too late though. Cosmetics and other things will always be available from Torghast, sure, but we have a feeling that the requirement to go through this tower every week to gradually gain power is something that players want to see come to an end, so that's what we're offering. Oh yeah, and I already see it highlighted. In addition, with their advance to Zereth Mortis, players will have the opportunity not only to equip the legendary item linked to their covenant, but also any other legendary simultaneously. You will therefore be able to wear 2 legendary items at a time, 1 from each category at the end of your journey. Cool to see it announced. But also, this was expected, right? I think everyone expected when they came out with Covenant legendaries that at the end of the expansion, they were going to allow you to wear a normal one and a Covenant one. So expected, cool that it's there. But I'm sorry, I'm hard stun locked at the moment on trying to figure out how the fucking Mythic is going to work. Here's what I need to figure out. Is it, forget when the patch comes out, just whenever the raid comes out. Okay, raid comes out. 8 bosses, heroic, last 3 released. And then, is it Mythic releases after, or Mythic out same time? In order of weeks, by the way. I'm trying to figure out which... It sounds like it's the second one. It sounds like it's the one on the bottom. Okay, so let's look at this from 2 different perspectives. We'll talk about the average player perspective in a second. Let's talk about world first progression first. Just completely separate it, because that's basically how that works. Hold up. Update. We've received confirmation that the first week of normal and heroic mode rating will be locked up to the first 8 bosses, while the full 11 bosses will become available on week 2 when Mythic difficulty releases. It's this one. I think this one would have been slightly better, but honestly, that's fine. You guys are saying, man, that blows. Does it? I feel like this doesn't affect the normal player at all. But yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure World First Racers would have preferred this one. Maybe. It's actually probably split. I could see people saying 1 less week of splits means better. But for me, I would rather do 2 weeks of splits before Mythic, so you don't have to do as many splits in Mythic. That's the way I would think about it. Yeah, this is what it actually is. This is what I would want. The top is what I would want. It's better for Race to World First viewers. I really don't think so, because the worst thing by far for Race to World First viewers is the day that guilds take to just do heroic splits in the middle of Mythic progression. That's the worst day in terms of viewership by far.